With Prime Day approaching, it's one of the best times to buy, but you have to know what it is you're targeting that day or you'll end up spending too much on stuff you don't need. With that in mind, I wanted to put together some of my favorites from my own smart home. Now, we'll start with some gear from the last year, and then we'll go into some of the tried and true smart home gear that I've been using for years. I'm going to give you the 3 biggest benefits that I've gotten out of each of these, and I'll let you know if there are any big drawbacks. We'll start with one of my very favorites for improving home security in 2024. Now, these are the smart cameras from Tapo. The first reason I love them so much is because I've never felt the need to get a subscription. Now, they record to an SD card on board, or if you have a NAS system in your home, you can get them recording to that. Plus, they do all the different detection types that you could ever hope for, and it actually works. Now, the second reason I've really enjoyed these is the integrations they have. They work with Amazon, Google, and Samsung SmartThings, and with Tapo, there's definitely more that I just don't know about. And this lets me bring up the feed on smart displays and Fire TVs. But my very favorite part of this is starting Amazon routines whenever a person is detected around my home. It brings up those camera feeds and there's really no delay, and it's just a few seconds of waiting and then I can see what's happening around my home. And finally, the physical attributes of these have made it so they're very easy to install, use, and overall maintain. Plus, it makes them reliable. These survived the last winter here, and I only had to charge the battery one time. You could get a solar panel or you could plug them in. And if you don't like this magnetic mount, well, you can use the basic tripod mount to get a more secure one. They hit all the marks for me, but if you want to see more about these, there's links to both buying them and our full reviews. And that goes for everything we're going to talk about in our video today. So let's continue with some of my favorites from the last year. This is Curtain 3, which is the 3rd generation smart curtain controller. Now, the first reason I love this is because I've never had to charge them. I got the solar panel accessory with these, and if you'll ask me how these are hanging, well, they're large and literally in charge.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
But when combined with the large battery on Curtain 3 and what is a very small amount of sunlight hitting them, they stay fully charged. And that's with them moving 3 or 4 times a day back and forth. Now, the second reason I love these is how they can move your curtains. A special feature called Quiet Drift, and it is almost completely silent. Now, the only sound I hear comes from the curtain rings moving along the rod, and I think it's this feature that sets them apart from others, especially for those of you who would use this in your room early in the morning. The third reason I love them is related to the next product. Now, SwitchBot has done an amazing job at making sure all of their products are compatible with a ton of other smart home apps and systems. However, you will need a hub from them. But don't worry, because Hub 2 is more than a hub, and that's why I really like this one. Now, with Hub 2, you can create automations in SwitchBot's app with Google Home, Amazon, Samsung, Apple HomeKit, and more. That's because this is what's called a Matter bridge. Now, since it is using Matter, those automations can happen locally inside of your home, which means the internet isn't required for them to work. Now, Hub 2 is also an infrared blaster, and it's unique because it has a huge library. That means you can control your older electronics, but the uniqueness comes from how they handle air conditioner units. In the app, you can actually see that your control worked, and while you need to check that your specific air conditioner works with this, it's a very rare opportunity. And the final reason I like Hub 2 is because of the display. You can display your home's temperature as well as use the 2 onboard digital buttons to control anything in SwitchBot's app. If you pair what's called the outdoor temperature sensor with this, You can get that displayed on the hub as well, so you know the temperature just outside your home. In terms of the deals that SwitchBot offers, I would be hard pressed to say when I haven't seen SwitchBot have sometimes even more than 30% off on their products. And products like this, you know, you're gonna get a really good deal on. If you can get anything off of these, take it and run with it, and make sure you get the solar panel. It's summer, and that means you probably need a fan. But if you're gonna buy one, why not get more than that? My favorite thing about the Drio Tower Fan is that it's not just that. It's an air purifier too. And you can run the fan or the air purifier functions separately because they, as a company, put 2 separate motors into this device. Now, as a fan, it puts out an incredible amount of air, and I compared it to 8 other air purifiers and found that nothing else was even close. Now, the second thing I love about this is that the air purifier is silent. I measured it and it added about 1 decibel to complete silence. Also, the display turns off in the dark, so this can purify the air in a place like your bedroom without you even knowing that it's working. The only evidence you'll have is this nice light breeze that comes out when it's purifying. And finally, all of this can be automated. There's a PM 2.5 and a temperature sensor on board. And both Amazon and Google have all the controls for this, so you can make really good automations. I'll tell you, this one pairs really well with Amazon's Smart Air Quality Monitor, which is actually my favorite right now for one of those. Now, I love Drio's basic fans too, but my understanding is that they're gonna be out of stock for a bit. So although I love them, they're not something you can look at for Prime Day. But I will talk about Chef Maker, the smartest cooking product I've ever had in my home. I love the fact that we have about 10 different cooking modes, from roasting to toasting to air frying and much more. Now, those different cooking modes let me use Chef Maker just about every day in our home, and because of it, my kid thinks I can cook. I totally tricked him. But the best feature is when you use the little temperature probe and chef mode. You can choose to cook your steak just the way you want it. You can keep it pretty rare, you can go medium, or if you're insane, you can do a steak well done. So it's not an air fryer, although it can be that. And I love that I don't have to use the much larger oven in my home. In the summer, that keeps things pretty cool. So I use it to make all kinds of steak, burgers, fish, chicken, fries, and even things like crispy broccoli. I don't want to spend hours cleaning, and in 2024, Narwhal has launched 2 products that have pretty much automated that for me. Narwhal's Frio X Ultra is the best robot mop on the market. Now, I'm doing a robot vacuum comparison video right now, and we'll likely launch that next week. But spoiler alert, nobody mops like Narwhal. It's incredible, and it gets that mop all along the edges of your home. It has great downward pressure that adjusts based on needs, and it self-cleans the mops about every 10 minutes to make sure you're not spreading grossness around your home. The other reason that I love this one is the complexity of the mess that it can deal with. I was also recently testing the SwitchBot S10. I tried to do something similar to this level of mess you're seeing, but it just couldn't deal with it like Narwhal does. It's that combination of a good vacuum with an incredible mop that does it. And finally, the maintenance requirements for X Ultra are really low. And now that I've had this for a while, I can tell you that it basically cleans itself. There's very little you have to do. And when you do have to do something, it's just a replacement of a minor component, and it's not very expensive. Now, a robot vacuum can't necessarily keep your entire home clean. You might want to use something else for smaller messes or for quick cleans, and that's where the wet-dry vacuum called the S10 Pro has been a remarkable addition to my home. I love this because there's no cleaning products. I just have to put water in it, and then it electrolyzes the water and applies it to the floor while both mopping, and vacuuming. It's a single pass with almost any mess to get my floor completely clean. Now, another reason this is so great comes from the fact that it's so easy to use. It drives itself forward, and so it can actually pull you along a little bit. Now, the battery is also located lower in the unit, so it never feels heavy. And you can even get this to lay down and it'll keep running. So it also senses when it's dirty and can adjust its suction and mopping levels on its own. And finally, this is another nearly maintenance-free item. When you place it back in the charging station, you can start a self-cleaning cycle that cleans the roller and the base station. It heats it up and it dries it out so that the roller doesn't end up smelling terrible. The only real maintenance item will be replacing the roller and emptying what it is that it pulls off my floor. In terms of the deals that I see with Narwhal every Prime Day, they're pretty spectacular. And actually, Frio X Ultra, I've seen it on sale already. It's way less than it was on launch. So I think you guys should be looking at that one. It's a great deal versus some of the others out there before Prime Day. Earlier, I spoke about these Tapo cameras and how they were great outdoors, but if you're looking for something to keep inside of your home, I do have a recommendation for what's called the Aqara E1. Now, I found incredible value in this, and I love it for 3 simple reasons. The first being, you're not going to need a subscription. It can do 12-second recordings to the cloud for free, and it has onboard SD card space. It also has a lot of processing power, which allows it to identify people. This has let me use it in my garage setting where it tells me each and every time that someone's in there. Then I can do 3 things within about a second of someone entering my garage. I can run an automation, get a notification, and still have that recording started at the right time. And the third reason is that the footage just looks fantastic. It performs great in any lighting situation, including during the night. I did a full comparison guide of this camera versus 8 other pan and tilt versions. I noticed that video starting to pick up and get quite a few views. So go check that one out if you're looking for a pan and tilt camera for your home. Now, I'm gonna say this as of July 6th, 2024, because it'll change soon. And yes, I'm teasing something they're gonna launch. Go ahead, guess what it is in the comments, but their strongest release so far this year is the U50 Smart Lock. This one is impressive, and it's one of my favorites because of the price. If you're looking from a bang for the buck perspective, there's just nothing that matches this smart lock. I did an analysis of the market when I reviewed this. It's not even close. And when you consider the fact that this could be on sale, a lot of people are going to pick that one up and do a number of their doors around their home. This turned at me, didn't it? A second reason that this is such a strong product is because of a little known option that you have with the actual lock cylinder. This is something you'll have to speak to a locksmith about, but you can actually change that. So for people who say it could be picked, you can fix it. And finally, the incredible number of options that you have for opening this lock means that you're never going to get locked out of your home. And it also means that you're going to be able to pick the way that best suits you. Now, if you want a fingerprint scanner, which you are seeing on this, you have to upgrade to the U100. So yes, this is the U100. Now, I don't personally think that's worth the price. So that's why the U50 is one of my favorites. In order to do all this, you're gonna need a hub from Aqara, especially if you go out and get one of these locks or you wanna buy some of their inexpensive smart home products. I think that's the first and the biggest reason that I would have you looking at the M3. They have a really unique and a really deep product lineup that works with this hub. Anything from them you can connect to the M3. My second reason is because they've added connectivity for the future. This is a Matter Ready hub, and it's a Matter bridge as well. It's going to allow you to connect just about anything from Aqara to just about any smart home platform out there. They added Thread, which means you can use their new sensors. And with Matter, it is the first time that you can add a number of smart home products from other manufacturers directly into Aqara's app. And just to hammer home how much they added to this, there's an Ethernet port, and you can use power over Ethernet if you'd like. Now, my third reason is the level of automation that you can create with a fairly inexpensive smart home. Aqara's app has really great automation features, and when combined with all of those different products, you have a lot of great options. Now, this M3 is also an infrared blaster, so you can connect all your old electronics to it, and that's making it a really powerful hub to base your home off of, especially if you want to save some money. Now, from Aqara's perspective on Prime Day, typically we see just about everything in their lineup go 20% off or more, and they'll have a couple of things that they put 25 or 30 or even more % off. So these are the kinds of products that I would be looking at for those deals on Prime Day. I'm gonna move a little bit into smart lighting. Now, there's obviously a number of companies that do this, but I'm gonna start with Govee and a couple of their outdoor lights. The Triad floodlight is incredible for a number of reasons, but I really like the construction and the ease of just sticking the two stakes into the ground and attaching the big old light to it. Now, since there are 3 floodlights, you can have a different color on each of them and they can point in different directions. You can create these really nice gradient effects on walls and in gardens. But even better is the fact that this is an extremely bright floodlight, so it can be used for security reasons, and if you use the new Govee outdoor motion sensor in conjunction with this, it'll be very effective. Of course, Govee connects to Google and Amazon, but this is a Matter ready light, so you can use a lot of other motion sensors to get this to turn on the way you'd like it to. And one of my personal favorites is the outdoor rope light. Now, this recently survived a really harsh Canadian winter, and honestly, I was a little surprised, but it looks incredible. The effects are second to none with this kind of a product from Govee, and I think we've all seen the indoor versions looking incredible inside of homes. But I never had so many compliments as the ones I got when I put this out front of my home. It's been rugged, and I was surprised at how it continues to look great outdoors. Every year, Govee puts a ton of their products on sale, and sometimes I've seen them up to 40% off. Now, it's gonna depend what they're focused on this year for sales, but I think new products like the Triad floodlight, I think that's gonna go on sale for a pretty good discount. So have a look for Govee to have pretty big sales this year. One of the most useful lineups available today comes from IKEA. Now, they produce Zigbee products, so you need a Zigbee hub. So check your hub's compatibility with IKEA gear, but if you have that, then you gotta use it. Now, one of the best things I've done in my home is to buy IKEA smart bulbs. They are really cheap, and I've been buying full color ones. I've been connecting those to Samsung SmartThings, or at least that was the case in the past, but now I'm using Homey Pro, and hubs like Habitat, Home Assistant, and more will work with these. Now, they look great and they stay connected, so it's a really inexpensive way of doing a reliable smart home. Now, one other thing that I've done that I think is really useful is to buy the little Zigbee remotes that IKEA sells. Again, check your hub's compatibility, but if that works, you can put smart lighting control anywhere in your home, and remotes like this give you lots of different control options. The one problem with smart bulbs is when someone pushes a light switch and turns off power to the bulb. For your home's lighting, many of you will want to use smart light switches instead. Today, I don't recommend you get anything except the lineup from Lutron Cassetta, and I'm not saying that other light switches are not good, but Lutron now has what I feel is a perfect lineup. This is the Diva. It's a smart dimmer switch, one press up to go to whatever level you've set with the dimmer, and a second press to go to full brightness. You can turn them off by pressing down, and it's a very simple looking switch with smart features. Now the Claro is just a smart switch. It doesn't have the dimmer, but it comes from the same series. And when you combine that with the Pico remotes, you can then have control of your lighting from anywhere in your home. Now my favorite is the Pico paddle remote, because this can look like any other light switch that you have in your home. It can be mounted on the wall or on one of their stands, and you get a 10-year battery life with them. And keep in mind, with that system, you'll need a Lutron bridge, but Lutron connects to just about any smart home app, and it's the most reliable smart lighting solution that I've ever seen. In fact, I've never had a switch or a product of theirs fail. And in terms of sales with Lutron, you know, in general, I see 10 to 15% off, which is a bargain for these things, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite smart lights, and it's really for those of you who use Apple HomeKit. And this is called the Eve Flare. It has a small battery in it, so there is a permanent place, a permanent spot that you can place this so it charges up that battery, but then you can take this outdoors with you, and the control through Apple HomeKit and Apple Siri is really great. It's not a very bright light, so it's really intended to be accent lighting, but it's one of the best I've found for that, and I love that we have this little hook on it so we can actually take it outdoors, hang it on our patio. We've already spoken about a few smart home hubs today, but I would say that you need a main hub to kind of control your smart home. For me, I've really enjoyed switching over to Homey Pro, and while that is fairly expensive, if you're considering it, then obviously you're going to want to look at making a purchase like that during Prime Day. The reason I like Homey Pro is because it's been really reliable for me. I think a lot of smart home hubs suffer from connectivity issues, or they just suffer from not having enough power to run the automations that you put on them. Homey Pro has that power, and they use it to run really powerful automations that you can't really do anywhere else, except one place, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But Homey's advanced flows allow you to do pretty much any automation you can dream up, and to customize that automation to fit exactly you and your family. And that's what I have enjoyed about Homey the most. Now, those advanced flows can be done in one other smart home system, and there's probably lots of you out there waiting for me to say that one of the best smart home hubs going right now is Home Assistant Green. That's because this is a good price to get you started with Home Assistant, and it's got enough power that I've been able to run quite a bit on it. It's going to allow you to connect all the different radios that you need to create a really powerful smart home with Home Assistant, which, by the way, is the DIY option for those of you who want to build a smart home that is completely local and completely yours. Now, the only limitation with Home Assistant is the time and the effort that you will put in. And so if you're looking to get started with something that you can tinker and play with and work on whenever you want, that's the way you start. It's the complete package and it's ready to go. Smart displays don't feel like they are as important as they used to be. And that's because, you know, voice assistants have fallen off quite a bit in terms of their capabilities, and as a result, they've fallen off in popularity. But I still have a couple of choices for you because they are still really useful. As far as I'm concerned, their biggest use is as a smart home controller, and the best one out there today is this Amazon Echo Hub. The reason I say that is because it reacts to you walking up to it, and that brings up the home page. You can customize almost everything on that homepage, and that means you can have those controls that you use every day front and center. So it becomes really quick and easy to use. And it's not displaying advertisements or really anything else. And that's one of the biggest problems that we've seen with smart displays in the past. They end up displaying things that we don't want to see. This is also wall mountable if you want it to be, and that means you can place it just about anywhere in your home. For those of you who want to use it more like other smart displays, you can get a mount from Amazon. Now, when combined with a Ring security system or other Ring products, this becomes a wall mountable, do-it-yourself security system controller, and you can display 4 cameras at the same time on it. I have a video tutorial for that one down in the description. It's also the first time I can say that Amazon has produced a true hub. Now I say that because you can get this connected through power over Ethernet, and it has an onboard Zigbee hub. It's also a Matter controller, and it can even connect through Bluetooth to other smart home products. All of that with a wired Ethernet connection, if you want it. Unfortunately, Amazon still doesn't have this one working locally with your smart home products that are directly connected to it. So it's not a perfect hub by any means, but that interface with Ring products is really incredible if you want to manage a security system at home. If you want a smart display with a better speaker, for that, I'm going to tell you the Echo Show 8 is the right bang for your buck option today. You have to change the settings on the front page to get it to calm down and not show you a ton of different things. But once you do that, it actually becomes a really calm display with a great speaker for the right price. And finally, if you want a bedroom smart display, it's pretty amazing that Google still has the best option because they haven't been doing a lot with their voice assistant. And actually, it's been going backwards, but they still have the ability to monitor your sleep with the Nest Hub 2nd generation. It still works really well, and you don't have to wear anything to bed, which I think is one of the biggest benefits of this device. I want to give you a couple of rapid fire things that I like, but I'm not going to explain a ton about it. This is the Ring Battery Doorbell Pro, and it'll be a controversial thing for some people because it requires the internet to operate, and some people just don't like Ring. But this has been entirely effective on my home. I love the perspective it gives, and the bird's eye view feature, when combined with other Ring cameras, is absolutely incredible. So the Battery Doorbell Pro is great from Ring. Now, I wanted to give you a couple of my favorite sensors right now. There's a couple from Third Reality. This company produces really inexpensive gear. This is their temperature and humidity sensor. I love that you get the display on it. It's a Zigbee device, so it connects to a lot of hubs, and you can run great automations on it. I like this better than their new light version because of that display. That's just me personally. Now, what I do like from their new lineup is the garage door tilt sensor. This is just a stick-on sensor that you put on your garage, and then you can tell when it's open or closed. You get a nice beep out of that sensor every time your garage door moves. My other favorites, I talked about this really briefly earlier in the video, but the Amazon Smart Air Quality Monitor has been fantastic for me. It has so many things on it. You can see all those different things, and you can run automations off of this. So this has been able to start all of my air purifiers when I've been testing different ones, or just when I've needed them with the wildfires that we had up here in Canada last year. This caused my air purifiers to run when I needed them and made sure that the air we were breathing was really good. And it's been working this way for a couple of years now. There's not a ton from Philips Hue that I recommend anymore just because they tend to be more expensive. But these two devices right here, the motion sensor and actually the outdoor motion sensor, both of those are rock solid. If you have a Philips Hue bridge, then they're going to connect to that. Otherwise, you can connect these to a lot of different smart home hubs directly and get a lot of benefit out of them. This is easily one of the best motion sensors out there today. It also does illumination, and the automations you run off of it, they'll run really quickly because they put enough power into this. Also has battery power forever. And this is one of my favorite little controllers. Now, the Hue tap dial switch, you're gonna have to connect that to the Philips Hue bridge or the Philips Hue hub, but you get 4 buttons and a turn dial. It works with a lot of different systems and Philips Hue, of course, so you can control everything from them. great little controller. We haven't covered a lot of different device types like streaming sticks or presence sensors or garage door controllers, and there's a ton of other unique types of smart home products that we haven't talked about here today. If you're looking for more of my recommendations, the video on screen now is the best from the last year. We'll go in depth in that video on many more products, and you'll find more smart gear that I can safely recommend to all of you. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, live and buy smart.